Hello and welcome to the Wondering World podcast. This is episode 4 where I speak to you about the fact that sometimes you might want to homeschool but you're scared you'll get it wrong. Hi friends, it's Cass. Today we're talking about something that so many mums say to me in my DMs, usually late at night, usually after a long day. And it sounds something like this. I really want to homeschool, but I'm scared I can't do it. Or, I'm scared I'll get it wrong. Or the big one, I'm scared of the judgment. If that's you, if you've been quietly thinking about homeschooling or keep coming back to it, but fear keeps tapping you on the shoulder, then this episode is for you. And I want to start with this. If you're scared, it's because you care. You're already the right kind of parent. Because the parents who worry about getting it wrong, they're usually the ones who will do the work, stay humble, learn, adjust, and love their kids well through the whole process. So let's talk about the fear properly, not just in a just be confident way, but in a real way. Before I go any further, I want to share something that's personal, because this wasn't just a topic for me, this was me. I'm a school teacher. My life has been schools. Really, really good ones. I'm also the daughter of a principal, and my dad was someone who was trusted to start schools. So education isn't just something that I care about, it is literally woven into my whole life. When I had my own child, I did what a lot of people do. I went searching. I visited schools, I looked at options, I sat in offices, and I listened to the "This is our vision" speeches. I did the tours, I asked the questions, I watched the classrooms. And honestly, the schools were great. They were. Good staff, beautiful grounds, warm culture, strong programs. But I couldn't shake this feeling in my spirit that something was off. Not bad and not doing it wrong, just not right for our family, not the future that I could see for us. And I remember thinking, why do I feel like this? These are good schools. But deep down, I kept coming back to the same things. I wanted to preserve my children's childhood. I didn't want to rush them through life like it's a conveyor belt, faster and faster until suddenly they're adults and we miss them. I didn't want to speed run childhood. Morals and values are also really important to us. And I know that school can't carry that responsibility for us. That's not their job. But I wanted to be right there shaping it with them. I wanted to know what she was learning. I wanted to see her learning. I wanted to have a real say in the pace and the tone of our days. I also just wanted her around. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's true. I really like her company. She thrives at home. She's bubbly. She's content. She's more herself. And I kept thinking, why would I hand that version of her over to a system that no matter how good the school is, has to run a certain way for the masses? I wanted to know her friends, not just their names. I mean, really know them, know their families, know what's being normalized, know the influences around her. I wanted friendships to be something that we could nurture intentionally. I wanted margin. I wanted slow mornings sometimes. I wanted learning that connected to real life. I wanted to read together, cook together, garden together, go for walks, build things, create things, do projects, love life. I didn't want our whole family rhythm to be built around rush, traffic, uniforms, lunchboxes, drop-offs, pickups, exhaustion, and then try to squeeze connection into the cracks. And my husband could sense it too. He could feel it. We'd talk about it and we were like, we both knew. The schools were great, but it just wasn't the story that we wanted. And I'll be honest, when we made that decision, something shifted in me. Once I actually owned our decision, confidence came over me. Not because I suddenly knew everything, not because all the fear disappeared, but because the decision wasn't floating anymore. When I stopped half deciding, I started feeling steady. And yes, there was a little bit of fear too, but the fear changed. It wasn't, what if I can't do this, as much as it was, okay, this matters, I'm really doing this. And my biggest fear, probably yours too, judgment, by far. Because when you're a teacher, when education is your world, when your family is known in that space, you feel like people are watching. You feel like you have to justify it. You feel like if you were to homeschool, you're making some kind of statement. And I had to get really clear. I'm not doing this to prove a point. I'm doing this because we believe it's best for our child. and our family. This wasn't rebellion, it was alignment. And I also had to accept something. Some people won't understand, and they don't have to, because they're not raising my child, they're not living in our house, they're not carrying our values, and they're not seeing the little moments I see, the growth, the peace, the connection, the way she lights up when she learns. So if you're listening and you've had the same feeling that I just can't shake it, I want you to know I get it. I've been there, and you're not crazy for feeling it. So the first thing that I want to speak about today is naming the actual fears so they stop running the show. When a parent says, I'm scared to homeschool, usually it's not one fear. It's a pile of little fears sitting on top of each other. It's things like, I don't know what I don't know. I can't picture what a normal homeschool day actually looks like. What if my child pushes back on everything I ask them to do? What if we have start strong and then it all unravels? What if they fall behind? What about friendship and community? What if I lose my confidence because everyone has an opinion? And I need you to hear me. Those fears are normal. They don't mean you're weak. They mean you're thinking deeply, and that is wise. But here's what I've noticed. Fear gets louder when everything is vague, because your brain fills in the blanks, and the blanks are always a worst case scenario. Uncertainty is where anxiety thrives. So if you've been spinning in your head, thinking about homeschooling but feeling stuck, there's a good chance you don't need to become a different person. You need clarity. You need a scaffold. You need someone to show you what it can actually look like in real life. Let's talk about a really honest fear that parents don't always say out loud. What if my kids just won't do it? Because it's one thing to imagine a peaceful homeschool morning with a read aloud story and a cup of tea. It's another thing when you know your child could be strong-willed, emotional, distracted, silly, avoidant, or very, very determined. And I have one of those. Here's the truth. Homeschooling doesn't magically make kids instantly cooperative. You're still parenting, but what changes is this. You're not trying to force learning into a shape that doesn't fit them. You're creating an environment where learning can actually happen. And a lot of won't do this is actually overwhelm, fear of getting it wrong, low stamina, needing connection first, not knowing what's expected, the work being too big or too unclear. So we don't start with the pressure. We start with gentle structure. We start with clear steps, and we start with small wins. Most kids don't need harder work. They need clearer work. And you don't need to control your child into learning. You need to lead them. And that's a whole different energy. Another question I get asked a lot is, what about socialization? It's a big one. And I want to say something that might surprise you. Most mums who worry about socialization aren't actually worried about their child talking to people. They're worried about friendships, belonging, confidence. Will they find their people? Will they learn to navigate others well? Will they have community? That's valid and that matters. But here's what I've seen over and over again. Homeschool kids don't miss out on people. They often get more variety of people and more real-life social experiences than anyone else. They spend time with siblings, adults, grandparents, kids of different ages, community groups, sport and activities, neighbours, and friends you actually choose intentionally. And for a lot of children, that's really healthy, because it's not just being around kids, it's learning how to relate to humans, all kinds of humans. Socialization isn't a place you go, it's a life you live. And you can absolutely build rich friendships and community in homeschooling, especially when you're intentional. Another question is, what is doing it right, and what does that actually look like? Because the fear of getting it wrong usually comes from this belief that there is one correct way, and you either do it like that or you fail. But homeschooling is not a straight line. It's more like steering. You choose one direction, you take steps, you notice what's working, you adjust, and you just keep going. You're not failing, you're constantly adjusting. So what does right look like? Well, to me, right looks like your child learning. Your home isn't in survival mode every day. You have a rhythm you can maintain, you're building skills over time, and the relationship with your child stays intact. That's right. Not perfection, not Pinterest, not performing for other people. That's what learning actually is. So I want to share with you 3 anchors that if you take nothing else from this episode, please take these. Anchor number 1, Rhythm over timetable. You don't need a rigid timetable. You need a rhythm each day. A rhythm is like mornings have a flow. There's a general this, then that. And you know what matters most. And you don't panic when the day changes because real life changes. Kids get sick, babies wake up early, someone spills something, you've all had a bad night. Your brain isn't working. A rhythm holds you even when the day doesn't go to plan. So instead of 9 till 9:30 is spelling, think after breakfast, we do our spelling. Anchor number 2, basics first. This one is going to comfort you. Most parents spiral because they think they have to teach everything all the time. You don't. You need to be consistent with the basics. For most families, that's reading and writing and maths. Everything else can be done in a flexible way across the week. Do the basics consistently. Let the rest breathe with the ebbs and flows of family life. That's right. That there removes so much pressure and will allow you margin in your day. Anchor number 3, connection first. If you're homeschooling, you are their safe person. So yes, sometimes at home you see more of the big feelings, more tiredness, more pushback than some of the adults in your life might see. But that doesn't mean that homeschooling isn't working. It means your child feels safe enough to be fully themselves with you. Home is where they let it out because home is safe. So we lead with connection because a steady parent and a connected relationship creates better learning than pressure ever will. So let's speak about the judgment and the fear, because this is the part that really can get under our skin. Because even when you feel excited about homeschooling, you can still feel that little knot in your stomach thinking, what will people say? And I want to say something gently but clearly. People have opinions, sometimes loud ones, sometimes subtle ones, but opinions are not assignments. People who judge aren't living your life. And also, this is important, sometimes judgment is just people not understanding homeschooling. They imagine that it's unstructured, lonely, or that kids won't learn when they need to learn. So if you know you have a plan, you know your child is learning, and you are being intentional, then you don't have to carry their worry. You can bless them and keep moving. Here are some phrases that you can literally say. I want you to save these. We've found a learning rhythm that really works for our family. We're focusing on strong foundations and a love of learning. Thanks for caring. This decision feels really peaceful for our family. We've got support and we're really happy with how it's going. Short, calm, no debate. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Let's finish with this, because I think this is the heart of this episode. Most parents think confidence is something that you're supposed to have before you start. But that's not how confidence works. Confidence comes from doing the thing with support and experiencing small wins. It's built, not found. You don't need confidence first. You need a plan, then confidence follows. And you will have hard days. Homeschooling isn't easy. It's just worth it. And hard days don't mean you're doing it wrong. They mean you're human, parenting real kids in a real home with real emotions. So if you feel the pull towards homeschooling, but you want that fear to stop yelling at you, I want you to consider this. What if you're not scared because you can't do it? What if you're scared because you care so much about doing it well? And that care, that is the exact ingredient that makes a beautiful home education. What I'm seeing in real families right now is something that I want to share with you. And it's honestly been one of the most emotional parts of this whole journey for me. Since launching Wonder and Wild, I have had parents, so many parents, who were genuinely nervous to start filling my inbox with thank you messages. Not the fluffy kind, the real kind. The I feel steady again kind. The I've wanted this for years and I finally feel brave enough to try kind. And one of the biggest things they keep saying is this. They don't just feel like they have a program, they feel supported. They feel like they're not doing it alone. Because here's the thing. Most parents can do hard things, but it's hard to do hard things when you feel isolated. So many parents have told me they finally feel confident enough to share that they're homeschooling now. Not in a defensive way, not in an apologetic way, because they can genuinely say, my child is still learning what their peers are learning at school. We're still covering the same outcomes, we're just doing it in a much more gentle way. And that matters, because it takes the sting out of the judgment and fear. It gives you a language, it gives you steadiness, it gives you confidence. Parents are loving the private Facebook group because it feels like homeschool besties. People are cheering each other on, sharing wins, asking questions, and helping each other through those really tricky moments. They're loving the monthly Zooms because it's not just a, here's a program, good luck. It's ongoing training, it's strategy, it's how to teach well at home. And they love knowing that they can reach out, ongoing access to me and the team via email, because sometimes you just need someone to say, this is normal, here's what to do next. A plan gives you structure, support gives you courage, and honestly, if you're listening and you want to homeschool but fear has you frozen, please hear me. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be supported. If you're listening and thinking, okay, I could actually do this, I just need a scaffold, that's literally why I created Wonder and Wild. Not to turn your home into a school, but to give you a clear plan, strong foundations, learning that's gentle and rich, and a rhythm that can be done without it consuming your whole day. Because you can raise a lifelong learner and still have a life. You can homeschool well without homeschooling all day. If you want to explore Wonder and Wild, jump onto our website and have a look around. Download some of our freebies and send me an email. And if you're not ready yet, that's okay too. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep taking the tiny next step. All right, love you guys. See you in the next episode. Bye.